just on the road as you go out of Bridge of Weir. We pass where the cemetery is that I'm going to be buried in, but I'm going at the top because I don't want anybody's rubbish being, nobody's kind of bits and pieces are running into my space. No plastic flowers. I want fresh lilies every week for at least 30 years, I think. I think that should do it. And then Gordon can stop. He doesn't have to do it then. And, sometimes like if we're driving, Gordon or the girls will say, should we just let you off here, Mum? Again, it's about acceptance through humour. And Lucy used to say, is it too soon to joke about it, Mum? About things like when I had lost the ability to speak and I was trying to speak. And although that was a very traumatic episode for us as a family, then kind of weeks later, we turn it upside down and we laugh at it. I've had a lot of surgery, and each time, just before you go into surgery, you say goodbye.
It's a non-malignant tumour on the brain. It's a lesion, and basically the problem is caused when they bleed.
As children we saw pictures in the embers of the fire. We would tell each other stories. Let me tell you what they are.
She has brain tumours, and the tumours have kind of spread, really, kind of all down her spine.
Yeah, from my own experience, when Mum said to me for the first time, this isn't something that's going to go away, I was like, I didn't ever think my life would be like this. I didn't ever think that I would have a dying parent. It's not really something you think about. It's not something you expect to happen to you.
It was Saturday, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'd been paint stripping a door, and then just lost my speech and feelings down my arms and my leg.
I was sitting up here and I was getting ready. I think I was going out with my friends, and then Dad had shouted at me and said, Mum's been unwell, and I just thought, she'd been sick or something like that. So I just went downstairs quite casually.
I had both my daughters were sitting with me,
and he was holding her up, and she was on the floor just as she go into the kitchen. He was holding her and she was struggling to speak.
And I was aware that I couldn't speak. I was trying so hard. And Emily, who's 12, is asthmatic, and she was becoming wheezy because she was getting anxious. And Lucy, who had been 15 at the time, took control. She said to Emily, right, Emily, where's your inhaler? Go and get your inhaler. Just relax, but just walk up the stairs and go and get it.
Dad was also obviously in shock, because it must have been really hard for him to see something like that. And
I could see Gordy was just scared.
And I had to hold her while he phoned for an ambulance. And
she was with Fiona and kind of sat with her and kind of kept her calm.
It's happened a few times where I've had to take responsibility and do things if Dad's not been in the house or something.
She calmed down her sister. She held me up, and I could see both of them and how upset they were.
It's never till afterwards I realise, like, oh, that's what I just did type thing. Because when you're in the moment, you just kind of get on with it.
And as a mum, when you realise that it's you that's upsetting your children, that's the hardest thing. It's just... it's unbearable.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
And that was a real turning point for all of us in the family. That was when Gordon accepted. You could see a change in how he dealt with the illness.
Last one. Yay.
Fiona describes it as a life-limiting illness, and it is. But we don't know where that limit is.
My neurosurgeon has hinted, but it's something that I never wanted to know because I don't know if it's particularly helpful.
With this situation, it's so unpredictable. Like that fit that she had, it was just, she was fine 1 minute and the next minute an ambulance was being called.
I don't know, it's like the elephant in the room, isn't it? It's kind of a silent, we all know that it's potentially there and likely to happen.
How long have I got? That's not my wish. I was just wondering how long I had for my wish. I can't even begin to understand what it's like for Gordy and the girls watching me and them going through the long goodbye, because that's what it feels like we're living. When you reach markers like birthdays or Christmases and you look back and you think you've really not changed that much, but then you realise when you look back just how much has gone.
I suppose Fiona and I do touch on it occasionally, and I don't know, we approach it in a way that will very much cross that bridge.
He would find it difficult at the beginning to come to appointments with me, and none of this is because he didn't love me, it's because he loved me so much. I think as we started to cope with the illness, certainly Gordon did have issues around telling people. Like, people phoned if I was in hospital. He would say, I mean, we joke about it now, but he would say, she's fine, you know, she has a massive brain hemorrhage, but she's fine, you know. Although I'm joking, but he actually could never say those words. It took him a long time, and then to admit to himself how unwell that I was took him even longer.
Has this changed, or is he still in that place, do you think?
No, he's miles away from the place of not being able to say certain words and not just saying she's fine.
I don't know, maybe by not talking about it you're kind of not making it a reality, if that makes sense. I would say it the other way, if you talk about it, it'll become a reality.
I'm not a very open person. Like, I don't like to talk about the whole feelings thing, because that's just because I'm like my dad, and me and my dad, we don't really do that.
Like, they're quite similar, and that they don't always express how they feel in words. They'll say it in other ways, but not in, okay, I'm feeling sad today. She won't ever say that. Yeah,
you kind of feel a bit browbeaten into talking about things.
I just find it really awkward when people ask me like how I feel, because I don't know how to respond to that.
Those damn emotions, keep them out of the way.
I can never picture myself talking about feelings and everything. It's just a subject I prefer to avoid. I'm always like constantly on my laptop, and I'm just like always watching CSI Freak. I love CSI. I've been addicted to CSI like all the time. I just think it's so interesting how you can use science to catch bad people. I want to move to New York when I'm 18, and I want to be a forensic scientist. There's nothing that's going to stop me from doing this. I'm not going to let like this illness in a family going to stop me from doing what I want to do. So I think that my advice would be just don't let it really restrict you from doing what you want to do.
What's been lost?
The equalness of the relationship between myself and Gordon. We were very much a partnership. I worked full time, Gordon worked full time. I would do the shopping, he would do the shopping. We shared everything.
Say Fiona's been up in her bed all day, not feeling well, and I've just sat down, and then I can hear her down, and she's feeling better and wanting to do something, so she's emptying the dishwasher or something like that, and I'm like, oh, for goodness sake, what are you doing that for? Either sit down or just leave it, I'll do it. Or that can be because you're thinking, I'll do it in the morning. You almost take it as an insult. This very ill person is emptying the dishwasher because you've not done it, but she's just wanting to partake in kind of family life, and it must be so frustrating for her to be lying up there a lot of the time and hearing us interacting and getting on and doing things.
I mean, I can't be the mum that I want to be or the wife that I want to be because of the symptoms of the illness.
Cleaning, cooking, packed lunches, ironing, washing, gardening, which I enjoy doing anyway, but gardening, answering the door, taking the dog for a walk. Fiona's medication as well is also that's a job. 2 of this, 4 of this.
And it's hard. It's hard. Because ever since I was young, I can remember I loved babies, I loved being around babies, and I just feel that I can't do my job as a mum and a wife properly anymore.
The way she is now is hard to deal with, but it's all I've ever known, really. I've never known any other situation or any other parent kind of situation. It's always been one parent being unwell and another parent taking control, and that's all I've ever, well, it's not all I've ever known, but it's what I've become used to.
She almost feels guilty because she was kind of going out with her friends, going to parties.
And she's tried so hard to make sure that we have a normal kind of childhood as much as we can in the situation. Like, I'll still go out with my friends as much as any other friend would, or I still go to like festivals and concerts and things like that because she encourages me to, so that I'm not sitting here, I don't know, thinking about everything.
And it all by like nails, and they were like, there's something wrong with you. Have you seen like what she actually looks like? She's just like, she has a boy. She just looks like a boy. She's like completely like broad-shouldered, short hair.
It was difficult at the beginning, especially when you're young and your friendship groups are all changing. Right now it's fairly stable, and my friends have been there for me through everything. They've been amazing. Don't want to feel like I'm a burden.
Like we hadn't known each other for very long, like, and then her mum got ill, so like
you kind of grow to learn how to deal with when she wants to talk and when she doesn't. You just kind of have to be there for people. You have to just say, like, I'm here if you ever like want to chat or anything. But it was hard, like, because we're so young.
I think that it's all kind of been a journey for us all, you know, with what's going on, and it's good that we can all kind of understand and go through it together.
If her mum had like a relapse, you don't know whether to say, oh, she'll be fine, because like you don't know the answers, but like we always try and keep it like positive and try not, and like we like to like keep her mind off of it more than like always be like trying to counsel her.
In school, if she'd be quite closed off and quite yes or no answer, then you'd know that she maybe just doesn't want to talk to you. But
we do know when she's upset, and we do kind of talk about it with her, because I think she gets the feeling that she has to stay strong, like, within her family for her younger sister. So it's nice to know that when she's with us, she doesn't always have to like keep it all in.
Do you think the society you're in, the school you're in, helps you think about these things, or do you have to find it yourselves?
I think it's quite a taboo within our school, really. They don't ever talk about it, and you just all kind of avoid it, and you never really know if anyone's got an ill relative or anything. You all just come into school and pretend that nothing's happening, which is really wrong, actually.
My dad died when I was like 11, so when I found out about Lucy's mum being ill, like, it really struck a chord with me. So like, I've definitely felt much closer to her, because I feel like I can kind of understand what she's going through a wee bit more.
Well, you have expectations of what people are going to be like and what they're going to do, but then you have to set it against the fact that they're 17 and your expectations of them.
It's quite a power struggle sometimes between me and my dad, because I like to, I don't know, try and make my own decisions.
And I'm very much one of those, well, surely if everybody sees me doing it, then they'll do it as well. You know, like cleaning up after myself.
And my dad can still sometimes think that he can say, no, you can't do that. And then I say, well, I can kind of do what I want, really.
To be a good dad to a daughter is very difficult, because you've got no understanding of what it's like to be a 17-year-old girl.
She's 17, she doesn't care whether her room's tidy or not.
I do try really hard to help her in the house, but
she doesn't see the fact that she kind of stores up all her dirty clothes for a week.
Still a teenage thing, you're like, I can't be bothered.
And then puts them in the washing basket and expects them to be ironed and washed and things for the Monday.
But for me, my dad being proud of me is a huge thing. I don't really know why.
There's things that he said to Lucy recently, beautiful things, and I think, you know, I always knew that side of him was there, but for him to bring it across to the girls now shows real strength.
I don't know, and it's hard for him sometimes, I think, to say, I am proud of you, or well done, that was really good.
And you can see his language is changing, particularly with Lucy, you can see. But he's not as rigid as he was. He's able to compromise and able to admit that he's never had a 17-year-old daughter before, so he doesn't know.
You do end up doing things that you know for a fact that other dads wouldn't do, like getting certain items in the supermarket. Is that extra large or jumbo or what is it? You know, things like that, and you're thinking, I wouldn't be doing this normally.
I think it's harder for the person watching than it is for the person it's happening to, because Gordon is so unselfish. He would run up and down stairs for me 100 times. Yes, Meg. She's very protective of me, and if you notice, she always makes sure that she's in between me and you. I suppose what saved us was the hospice.
we all do get counselling from the hospice.
Well, a person from the hospice came and she started to talk to me, like we had meetings every week. That was okay because she kind of avoided the subjects of feelings and stuff, so I kind of enjoyed that.
I have a counsellor up there, and I can go up there. She's just such an amazing person.
There's just a feeling of going in there and sitting down and you can just unburden.
She offers empathy.
A kind of unclenching.
She also offers a safe space so that I can talk to her in that room and then leave all those feelings in that room.
I was scared because obviously with hospice comes a stigma of like death, of like immediate death. And
we kind of went and I kind of realised kind of what the hospice was.
We both almost dismissed it out of hand, saying, what would I want to go there for? You're taking it too far now. What's going on?
It's like a tiny bit like a hospital, but it's more like a homely hospital.
A place to die comfortably.
I don't know, it's kind of... I prefer the hospice to the hospital.
You kind of think that it's not really a place to be feared as much as people might think it is.
Anybody here tell me what a hospice is?
A place where someone with a life-limiting illness can just kind of go and like it's kind of recuperate after maybe something, like if they say they've had like a big operation or like a relapse or something, somewhere where they can kind of go for maybe a couple of weeks to a month and just kind of get the kind of 24-hour help that they need. But I could be so wrong there.
Well, that's part of it. That's certainly what Mum goes to it for sometimes, but it's also a place for the family as well. It's not just for the individual, it's for a support base for the family. And
ill people can come together and like they're all in the same kind of boat, and they can take strength from the other people there who are ill, and same with the families. And
in the family we talk about my funeral, and I want everybody to be crying, Gordon. None of this, nobody's crying. I want everybody to, I want sobbing. I want just, mass hysteria. And that's it. And I want, why would you want to go to somebody's funeral and say, look, I want you to be happy? I don't want them to be happy that I've gone. I want them to be devastated. And then as they're carrying me out the church, I want Tom Jones' Sex Bomb playing, because that was always my song, and then the family would dance around me. So that's what I want when I'm going out the church, is Sex Bomb.
For like years now, like I've not been talking about all that stuff, but now that I have, I feel like there's been like a big kind of weight lifted off my shoulders in a way, so it's good.
I can't swear it.
I don't know.
We can. You feel closer. Definitely.
As a family, we're probably closer than maybe other.
I don't think you can measure if you're closer than another family.
No, of course you can.
And
My guidance teacher said to me, it's like you can either, if you compare yourself to people, you'll either get really big-headed because you'll be better off, or you'll be so depressed because you're worse off. So it's just better not to compare to other people.
yeah, but I think we are closer.
No, we're closer as a family, and no matter what other families are doing.
That's exactly what I meant to say.
As children we see pictures in the embers of the fire. We will tell each other stories. Let me tell you what they are.
In an emotional way.
Let me tell you what they are. Let me tell you what they are. I saw
that they're never going to lose me, because hopefully I'll always be there on their right shoulder, just still, they can still hear my voice, still telling them what to do, still nagging them, still telling them to tidy their bedrooms, still telling them that stuff goes in the dishwasher, not on the dishwasher. You know, still hearing my voice through things like buttons, you know, just wee things.
As children we see pictures in the embers of the fire. We will tell each other stories. Let me tell you what they are. Let me tell you what they are.